What's good, everybody? It's man Big Dom coming live now to another True Players podcast episode with my hermano Matthew Miranda from Jacobin Sport Knicks Believe Pod, and the author of the Strict.Land article. We are talking about some great things in a short amount of time. You know, we just observed OKC winning the NBA championship, well-deserved championship win against a very good Indiana Pacers team. The only thing that bothered me is the fact that Haliburton got hurt in that game, in which he eventually loses a season out of it. So let me introduce you to Matt. Matt, introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, everybody. Matthew, been here many times. You can see my Nick work at the Strict.Land, also posted in toasting.com. I had a piece today at Posting, a mailbag that talked about the Knicks coaching search and positions they might look at in free agency this summer. And at the Strickland today, I wrote something about a deep dive I did into after the Knicks Pacers series. I wanted to look at the way that the Knicks did or didn't attack Tyrese I had an idea that they hadn't gone after Haliburton enough with Mikal Bridges, and so I went into all the data to see in their playoff series this year and last year, how many times have they attacked Haliburton, who have they attacked him with, how effective has it been? And I came away realizing I was completely wrong about Bridges. I was completely wrong about something I thought about Pascal Siakam. I should apologize publicly. Because you'd be a fan too. So watching these games, I felt like Siakam was bullying my guys because I always felt like he was shooting over McBride or over Hart. So I got this idea, like, you know what? He never scores over no one who's not 6 foot. He can't score over nobody who's not a half foot shorter than him. So I looked into the data. No, he took the most shots he took were against OG and then Towns and then Hart. So he's not bullying people. He's just really good. I just didn't like seeing it happen to my team in real time. But you can find my work at both of those places. And also my podcast, Jacobin Sport just did an episode talking about the finals and the Kevin Durant trade and a bunch of other things. So you can find that also, JACOBIN Sports Show.
Definitely, Matt. Thank you for that. I want to dip into that a little bit. Like I said, I want to get your thoughts on it because this is talk about Haliburton. As soon as I heard he had a calf injury, I think he was complaining about the calf even in the Knicks series. I believe it went down back that far. I knew, being with my medical experience, I'm not a doctor, but I've been around medical for a long time. I knew eventually his Achilles was going to go.
I mean, things we've seen it a lot this year. That was the concern. We saw Kevin Durant do that. Speaking of Durant, 6 years ago, same thing. He was badly injury compromised. Everyone could see it. But when the Warriors began to struggle with Toronto, a lot of talk started popping up like, oh, is KD really there for his guys? Is he's going to sit out and not? So Durant forced himself to play, and we saw what happened. Haliburton's situation was almost unprecedented, and I thought impossible. Like and now, of course, it looks completely correct. But normally my thinking is like anytime you have a player who has a calf problem that in the regular season would sit him for weeks, you got to sit that man. And if he is the cornerstone of everything that you do, you've got to sit that man because you don't want to be Boston today. You don't want to be – I had forgotten DeJounte Murray had the Achilles tear last year. Dame Lillard is out all next year with the Achilles. Tatum is out. Now, Haliburton, it is tricky to say, though, like you're literally going into Game 7 of the finals. Like this may be the one chance. Your franchise has never won a title. You see guys all the time, like Kevin, people get to the finals when they're young and we're like, oh, here comes a dynasty, and they never get there again. So I'm not a Pacer fan, so it was very easy for me to say I would bench Haliburton because I don't care if they win or lose the finals. But let me ask you, if the Knicks have gotten to the finals this year and Jalenbrunson, and they get to Game 7, and Jalenbrunson has been struggling with a calf problem, but he's also been killing the Thunder. He's been the main reason that and it comes to Game 7, and what would you want him to do? That's hard. That's harder for me to imagine.
It's harder for us to imagine because Brunson is Brunson. For his team. Yeah. We don't have anybody that could do what Brunson could do.
Mm-hmm. I think so. It has to be the same. I mean, I think if you're a Pacer fan, the Celtics seemed to finish the year with a pretty brutal 1-2 punch of losing when they did and losing Tatum like right at the end and knowing, oh my God, this completely now sidetracks our future, our short-term future. I can't think of a more devastating way to lose than you fall in Game 7 of the NBA Finals and you lose your top player probably for all of next season. I don't think I've ever seen that. That's got to be brutal. Um, I hate the Pacers, but they have tremendous fans. Um, and I, I can't imagine waking up, getting that close, and they're leading it even after he gets hurt. They're leading at halftime, and then they come down the way that they did. I don't think I've ever seen
You know what it was? He was playing well in the game.
it. He was. He came out. He came out right away firing and drilling and drilling.
So,
He had 3 threes. He had 9 points by the time he went out. And you saw in these playoffs, I would say more than any other player in this postseason, including Shai, who had great games, including Brunson. There was no player in this postseason who, if he got it going, you were like, uh-oh, then Haliburton.
Well, we give a big shout-out praise for him to come back healthy. Give a big shout to Shaigilgeousalexander, the MVP of the NBA. I believe he's MVP of the finals.
He was,
They had no answers for him. He plays both ends of the floor like no other. Also, we got to give a big shout-out to Williams and Chet Holmgren. Williams, everyone's saying he's a Scottie Pippen. This guy can score. He can do a lot more things than Scottie Pippen, to be honest with you. It seems like it'll go away. The OKC's not going away. They're young. They're together.
And they have all the pieces to make any moves they want. If there's any player available that they want to go after, they have the picks. They have pretty much them and I guess Houston maybe, but the Thunder basically have the ability to make any move that they want on top of it. So depth-wise, they're probably going to – there was talk I was reading earlier today. If you remember a couple of years ago, maybe it was last year actually, they traded late for Gordon Hayward. He was kind of past his prime. He wasn't really healthy anymore. Nothing really came of it. But a name to look out for. Like, let's say the Thunder said, all right, Portland, we'll throw you a couple of firsts and blah, blah, blah. Give us Denny Avdia. And now you're adding another. Just imagine adding him. Where, like, now Denny Avdia, who would be a two-way starter on any team basically in the league, would be the Thunder's 8th guy, 9th guy.
That's crazy.
And they can do it. And you saw this year they did it with Alex Caruso. They didn't play Alex Caruso in the regular season more than like 22 minutes in a game or 20. It was some insanely low number because they had the luxury of their roster to say, we're not unwrapping him until the playoffs. And then you saw what he did in the playoffs for them. Yeah. So yeah, they are very terrifying.
By the way, Alex Caruso is one of Tom Thibodeau's favorite players that he never got.
He's just one of my favorite players. That guy plays defense like there's a demon up his ass. On anybody. I mean, 1 through 5, he's on you.
Big time. His contribution is great. And they got to give a shout to my favorite Knicks player, wink, wink, Hartenstein, who really fit.
Perfect fit.
Fit that team perfectly.
Yep. It will always kill me that he's gone because he was a perfect fit here. And there was nothing they could do about, the rules, but absolutely. I mean, you look at the Thunder, and again, and this is why I'm very interested to see, they don't have the same flexibility. But last year, the Thunder were the number 1 seed in the West. They lost. They were upset by Dallas. They had seen in the playoffs, like, they had tried to go this, we don't need rebounds. Rebounds are overrated. And then they found out in the playoffs, no, you got to be able to. Dallas came in with Gafford and all their bigs and Lively, and, like, you got to be able to play big. So they went out. Hartenstein was exactly what they needed. They paid Chicago almost nothing for Caruso. It kills me that they did exactly what they needed. Can the Knicks this offseason, not having at all, they can't approach it the same way. They don't have the money. They don't have the picks. But, like, the Knicks have some obvious needs. Let's see what they can do about pursuing that.
Now, do you believe, Matthew, I want to pick your brain. This was a segment. I hope we're on longer. But I want to pick your brain quickly. Does it feel the Villanova trifecta gets broken up in this offseason?
There's been no indication. Ever since Bridges came, the assumption has been that he's probably going to sign a 4-year extension for $156 million, which is $39 million a year. There hasn't been anything striking about that may not happen. If Thibodeau had remained the coach, you might have been able to think, well, Bridges was the one guy who went public during the season about this is too many minutes, and you might think that, but there has been no indication that I've seen anywhere that they're leaning towards not re-signing Bridges. That could be in part because they really just think the best. I mean, we were really good last year. We want to give that team another shot. You might also consider doing it because if the Knicks are at some point going to make a meaningful move in the future, it's probably going to have to be a trade. And so if you're going to make a trade, you want as many half dollars and dollar pieces on your payroll, because if you're going to play for big money, you got to have big money. Therefore, you might want to have. So there's two ways to look at it: re-sign Bridges, and if a year from now it's still not working, well, he's a $40 million piece. Cat's a 50, OG's a 40. Like, you have enough pieces that now you can make a move for Jan or whatever big star is out there. Mm-hmm. You could also look at what Dallas kind of ended up doing with Porzingis, which is saying, all right, we don't think Bridges is quite worth. He does some nice things, but if there's a pressure now, there was a very good piece on this. I can't remember who wrote it in the Athletic yesterday, but like there's more pressure now than like it's not about needing basketball. Most of our lives in the NBA has been whoever has the best player, you're probably going to win. You got MJ, you got Hakeem when he's priming, you got Shaq, you got Kobe, you got LeBron, you got Steph. Whoever the best player is, the last couple of years, Giannis was the best one year, Jokic was the best one year. Usually top dog, you figure that's how you win. Mm-hmm. But because of the way the game is now played differently and because the financial restrictions are different, a lot of teams now are thinking it's not about having the best player, it's about having the strongest, weakest link. Mm-hmm. So if you're the Knicks, you say, you know what? We don't have depth. We know the last 2 years we've lost because of a lack of depth. Maybe like Dallas turned Porzingis into first initially two pieces. It was Washington. It was Dinwiddie and the Latvian shooter Bertans. It was those two who they were then able later in part to spin into Kyrie. So maybe the Knicks would say, okay, Bridges, we're going to sign and trade because for $40 million we can get a decent, 2 or 3 decent players. And now we got depth, and we're going to approach it that could be. That's the only thing that I would think could lead them to say, like, maybe we don't want Bridges. Maybe we want to go in that direction. And because the Knicks have been very good under Leon Rose at, even when they send people away, they've been very good about working with them to send them where they want, so you're not leaving a bad taste. So you could work, hey, make Mikhail, where are you interested in going? We're going to get you your 4 years. We're going to get you your money. We're going to work on a deal. So let's say with Portland. What if Portland, I don't think this would happen, but if Portland said, we'll give you Denny Avdia and I don't know, anyone else you can think, some other piece, a legitimate player for Bridges. Bridges is probably the best player in the deal, but you might want that depth. So maybe that would be that's the only way that I see Bridges leaving. I still think it's most likely the Knicks say we were really good this year. They've got a year of continuity under their belts. Let's give them another shot, especially if you think you can get a coach who can tap into the offense a little more explosively than Thibodeau did.
That's why I think Bridges is going to be key this offseason, because if they were to hire Taylor-Jenkins, the former coach from the Grizzlies, who, what I'm hearing through reports and articles, is a very big fan of Mikal Bridges. A very big fan of his. So you sign him as coach. I mean, none of these guys impress me as head coaching. No disrespect. But for me, as a Knicks fan, the only way that'll make me happy, salivate my taste, even though I've been shot down on Facebook many times for this pick of Mark Jackson, that's the only way it makes sense for me right now.
Let me take that too. I want to ask you, take that in two directions with you. Mm-hmm. I want to go back as far as I have to until we get to the last NBA coach who won a title that you would say right now, give me that guy, like that guy. So like I agree with you. I don't think that, for example, Taylor Jenkins is not someone in a vacuum that like I'm excited about. Mm-hmm. But I want to, because I do this a lot. I've done this a lot this summer. So this year the Thunder win. It's Mark Daigneault. Is that a guy before this year that you even could bump into a mall and know who he is?
Nope.
I don't think so. Okay, so not him. Last year was Joe Mazzulla. Mm-hmm. Joe Mazzulla walked into a very good. I mean, he did a great job. I'm not taking anything away from him. And I think this year he showed a lot more of what he can do. But he inherited a kind of dream situation. Like Udoka was fired for reasons that had nothing to do with basketball. Mazzulla walks in. Here's your title contender, and they're pissed. Their guy is gone. They're fired up. That's kind of perfect. So I think he's good, but like, is he like light years ahead of Tom Thibodeau, for example? I don't think so. I wouldn't say so. Okay, before that, we had 23 Denver. Okay, Mike Malone. Very good. Do you think of him as a legend? Here's what I mean. When the Knicks brought in Pat Riley, there was an obvious, like, they want to bring in the best person on earth that there is. That person doesn't exist now, really, because you keep going back. Like, Mike Malone's not that exciting. Is Mike Budenholzer won a title? Are you excited about? No. So I had to. So my thinking initially was like on this coach was, if they're going to fire Tibbs, they must have someone incredible in mind. But the more I think about it, the more I think it's not an issue anymore. The way the game is and what teams need. Thibodeau brought this team so many things. I don't think, like, when the Knicks brought in Riley, they needed someone who was going to take a complete trash team to bring them all the way up. That's not where they are right now. Right now, they're very, very good. They just need someone to give them a little of the things that they've been missing. And that's where normally Mike Brown does not excite me. Taylorjenkins does not excite me. They interviewed Mike Inori today, who's been a long-time assistant. None of them normally excite me, except here's where they might. All of them have come in with reputations or experience of being in charge or involved with the best offenses, like some that we've ever seen. Mike Brown, he had Kobe with the Lakers. He had LeBron in Cleveland. He was with Golden State as an assistant under Steve Kerr. When he went to Sacramento, don't forget, only 2 years ago. No, sorry, 3 years ago. I think 2 years ago. The Kings had the number one offense in NBA history to that point. I think it was 3 years ago. Taylorjenkins never played basketball. He went to college. He studied other things. He went into coaching in the G League, came up in part because of his reputation offensively, and had some very good years in Memphis with a team that I have to say, like, Ja Morant is an awesome player, but not the most dependable, steady, available. Like, it's not like that Steph, and okay, I know what I'm getting every night from this guy. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not a great offensive player. Like, he did some nice things with the team that didn't have obvious all-stars everywhere. Mike Inori in Minnesota, the last 4 years, they've had a top 10 offense, I think, twice. He knows the double big thing because he was there for it with Gobert and Towns. He's worked with Towns. So if those guys, Thibodeau, who was never, thought of it, like when the Knicks signed Tom Thibodeau, none of us ever said, wow, the offense is about to explode. And yet, the last 3 years, they were under Tibbs, they were 3rd, 7th, and 5th in offense. If you can bring in someone new who actually has more of a creativity with offense and someone who's going to play 10 or 11 guys instead of 7 or 8, that may be more important, I think, than, man, I want Eric Spoelstra because he's the best coach in the world. Yeah, he probably is, but you're not going to get him. And you may not need that. Maybe you just need someone like this. Maybe.
But so my question to you is, why have they soured on Johnny Bryant?
I don't think they've soured on Johnny Bryant at all. I think that they held him in very high regard when he was there. They let him go, not joyfully, but because they were happy to see he's moving ahead. I think there's a bit of a pressure where if you're going to make this move and get rid of this coach at this stage of your development, I think you have to hire a coach who's actually had experience. If you're going to bring in an assistant like Mike Inori, it has to be two things. It has to be because he is just your guys love him, and he's got to be thought of as the hottest. Johnny Bryant is a very, 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 he's one of the top regarded assistant coaches in the league. He seems to be one of the guys on the very front, of getting one of the next jobs. I don't know what it is this year, but my suspicion is that when you hear the names that they're talking to, also the guys that they couldn't get to, a lot of them, Jason Kidd, heavily linked to him, those are all guys that they're going to do something with your offense. I'm not sure what Johnny Bryant's specialty is, whereas Nori and Brown and Jenkins, we know okay, there's that. And I think if you watch the Knicks in the playoffs, there's a lot of ratings and rankings that a team gets in the regular season against, you're playing garbage half the year, that when you get to the playoffs, that stuff doesn't apply. The Knicks were not a top 5 looking offense in the playoffs at all. It was a lot of Brunson and Towns doing incredible one-on-one work. And I think you saw against Boston, certainly Indiana, and the Thunder, that what you need more is we got to blend this together. It can't be 3 guys watching 2, and occasionally they get kickouts or like. So I think that's why Johnny Bryant isn't right now, and also Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson is a defensive coach. I think the Knicks probably feel like we've got the foundation there. The place that we need to grow now is on the offensive end and to modernize there. We need to take more threes.
I give you an idea. I mean, as much we want Jeff Van Gundy to come back.
I know.
I know.
Jeff Van Gundy's not walking through that door.
I think it would have to take a lot of money. I would take a lot of money, and James Dolan to bow down to him for him to come back.
Who?
Jeff Van Gundy.
Van Gundy? I'm not sure Van Gundy would even. I don't know if he'd want to do it. I don't know if he'd want to be a head coach, period, because he's much older now, and there's a lot more that comes with that. And I really don't know if he'd want to come back for this owner, given his experience with him 20 years ago. I love Van Gundy. That always seemed to me like a fiction or a fairy tale more than like a realistic possibility.
I always thought that if Jeff Van Gundy was coaching Carmelo, the team would have went further.
I mean, Van Gundy has a certain aura about him because he left before things got bad and because he was the last good coach for a very long time. Jeff Van Gundy was not a perfect head coach either. I mean,
no, he wasn't.
I think he falls in the same boat as Jackson and Johnny Bryant, where if you're gonna move on from Tom Thibodeau, you're not gonna bring someone else in whose thing is defense. You should be good there.
But the thing is about Jeff Van Gundy is you're never gonna see him get outcoached in any game. You're never gonna see that happen.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna make that adjustment. He went from a half-court offense in 1999 to a full-court, up-tempo offense when he lost Ewing and went to the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he will make the adjustments necessary to win.
That's okay. Counter argument. Somebody would point out after Jeff Van Gundy left New York and had Tracy McGrady throughout his prime and Yao Ming and a lot of really, really good players in Houston, they didn't win, I think, a playoff series. Not saying it's his fault, but again, just saying, it's who knows, man. I would love it. I don't think there's anyone they would hire that I'd be more excited by or intrigued by, but you've got to especially be able to look at you got to be able to tell your locker room, we know you guys loved Thibodeau. We all agreed we had to go in a better direction. Here it is. I don't know if Jeff Van Gundy sells that to players who have never known him to be good work. If you remember, Hubie Brown years ago had been out of the game for a long time, was older than Van Gundy is now, came back to coach Memphis when Pau Gasol was there and Shane Battier and Mike Bibby, those teams, and they were tremendous. They were really, really, really good. So maybe.
He got the best out of white chocolate.
He was the original. Yeah. It was.
He got the best out of Jason Williams, and everyone thought that he was going to clash with UB, but he got the best out of Jason Williams those seasons.
Yeah. There were some nice teams. Those are the first good teams Memphis had.
So definitely, I did have another coach on tap, but we'll talk about. I know you got a jet, but
go ahead. I'll do one more.
Okay, that's definitely. I was thinking, if you're gonna hire a head coach, you gotta have a good offensive coordinator. Someone like Eddie Jordan, someone who does that Princeton five spot offense to integrate with Brunson and Cat brings to the team. I don't think the team should trade Cat. I don't think the team should trade anybody in that team, especially with the injury to Haliburton. Where it should be a clear-cut, straight line to the NBA Finals for the New York Knicks right now. Because Detroit didn't get Durant, which you got to breathe a sigh of relief off of that. You're looking at.
I'm just going to remind you that the last time that the Knicks had a clear path to the finals in '94, the Bulls without MJ took them to 7.
Mm-hmm.
Reggie scored 25 in the fourth, and the Pacers took him to 7. Like, you're right. I feel exactly the same. Like, I don't mean to interrupt you, but like, they should be the clear runners. I agree. That I'm always afraid to say that, but they absolutely are the favorites to win the East next year, no question.
So you need a good former head coach who knows how to run offense. Dare I say it? The guy I wasn't a big fan of who coached the Knicks. But he could be a good hell of an offense coordinator in D'Antoni. Just got put in with the right head coach. But I don't know. I'm kind of stumped.
It'll never happen.
I'm stumped.
I like it, but it'll never happen. I think D'Antoni's out of the game, and I do not think the way things ended. I mean, he was fired. He technically resigned.
Mm-hmm.
But not only so, just here's why I don't think it would ever happen. If you remember, D'Antoni, when he signed with the Knicks first, he signed on for a 3 or a 4-year deal because they knew the first 2 years of the deal they weren't contending. Like those were lost seasons right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
So he sat around for 2 years and just had a team that wasn't even trying to contend. And then he got Stoudemire, and for about 4 months got to play his system. And then against him and his general manager's thinking, the owner traded half the team for the one player in the league who was probably the worst player to put into his system, because Carmelo and that system do not mix at all. That's oil and water. And then the next year, and then that off season, they brought in Mike Woodson, not because D'Antoni wanted him, but because they felt he needed a defensive coordinator. Everyone knew this is one of those sharks they're lining up, so if they fire you, and then he gets fired and Woodson takes over and Woodson has all the glory. So I like the thinking. I like where you're going. If you want to juice up the offense, like, other than Don Nelson, there's maybe no one on the planet more creative than D'Antoni would be. But the way that ended, and now the length of time he's been out of the league, there's no way. It would never happen.
One last thing before I let you go.
Yeah.
Do you see the realm of possibility of Mike Woodson 2.0?
No. Okay. I think also for some of the reasons expressed before, I don't. He's not an offensive guy. I don't think there's bad blood there, but like, I think that relationship is done. Well, it did, but what I mean for Woodson is, like, Woodson may have felt wronged on the level of, like, we watched. So if I'm Mike Woodson, I don't know if he thinks this, but if I'm Mike Woodson, Isaiah Thomas was there for years, destroying everything, and he's getting contract extensions. Mike D'Antoni does nothing his first 2 years, then loses gets swept in the first round 1 year. Mike Woodson saves that last D'Antoni season. They go 18-6 at the end to get into the playoffs. They win their first playoff game in like a decade. The next year they win, 50 whatever games. They win their first series. The next year they get off to a terrible start, huge run at the end, but don't quite make it. And Mike Woodson gets fired. And Mike Woodson may be thinking, wait a minute, Isaiah was able to do this and survive. D'Antoni could do this and survive. I'm out. He may not, so I think any ex-Knick coach, you've got to think about how did it end in their time here, and really for most of them under Dolan, it has not ended well.
All right, so
for now it sounds like Mike Brown, Taylor Jenkins are the front runners. I know that's not going to win the back pages. But the Knicks have hired a lot of coaches with really big resumes in their history, and none of them have ever won a title. Only one guy ever won a title, and that was Red Holzman, and nobody knew who he was when he got here. So, we'll see. Draft is tomorrow. Pay attention to the draft. See if they make any kind of. They have the 50th pick, but in the past, this front office has been very, very busy on draft night, spinning moves, and there's a lot of expectation that tomorrow is going to be an insane night for transactions. The next couple nights is a 2-night draft now. I forgot because there's so many it's easier for teams now to make trades than signings, and particularly this offseason, other than Brooklyn, nobody has cap space. So if you care about the Knicks, pay attention tomorrow night, next 2 nights, because something very well could happen.
Yeah, before let Matthew go, I'm going to say a few things. Keep Mitchell Robinson, please. Thank you. Don't trade him. Brunson, I think he's the next guy who's pretty much close to untouchable because what he brings to the intangibles he brings in offensive rebounding, he just alters the game in ways that a self guy should not be altering games. Not just blocking shots and grab rebounds. He's getting steals. You put a stretch 5 on him, he's going to go out and meet that stretch 5 out in the 3-point line and still recover and block a shot.
Yeah. Which is great.
You know? So, at another guy, Spencer Dinwiddie, I've been on this case for Knicks to sign him. They should sign him. Re-sign DeLon Wright because I think he's a good piece, plays great defense, could run the offense. You need another guy, you need a solid ball handler who could run the offense while Brunson will get some rest playing off the ball.
Dinwiddie sounds like one of the leading candidates for them.
Yep. And also bring back Bogey, please.
Michael?
Bogey. Bogdanovich. Bojan.
We'll see.
I like him. And it's Shamit. You know, bring some shooters. You're going to bring some shooters.
He would be a very nice fit. I don't know what his health is, and I don't know. They have the last thing I'll say is they have one exception. It's like the mid-level exception for I think a little under $6 million. That may be something that goes more to a Dinwiddie type. Depends if they can get someone like Dinwiddie on a veteran's minimum and save that exception for whoever else, you know, then if they can add 2 pieces, that would be nice. That would really lengthen out their rotation a bit.
Add the 2 pieces. You got Haliburton, another season under him. We lost Precious. But they also got the second-round pick from last year, Nandi, who's supposed to be. They say he's a project. He says he's a project, but they say this guy, once he develops, he could be another guy that could be big defensively, grab rebounds and all that stuff. So you got McBride there still, even though I think he could be a candidate to be traded because of his salary. We go from there, but keep the team stand pat. You don't need Giannis. You don't need Durant. You don't need Giannis yet. Let's see what this team brings, and then therefore, if Giannis does not want to be in Milwaukee, then he could help you facilitate a trade that will favor you more than the favor Milwaukee. That's my standpoint on that. Thibodeau, thank you for the memories, but you know, your coaching is the reason why you're unemployed. Your stubbornness. You got to acknowledge that. I think that game was a game 4 when you saw Cat with DeLon Wright, Landry Shamet, McBride on the floor, and that team won that game. That lineup won that game. It wasn't Brunson, it wasn't Bridges, it wasn't OG. That lineup won that game for you, game 4, to extend the series.
Got a lot to see.
And he did it the year before. Before that show, he did it before with Alec Burks. He didn't bring him early enough. Alec Burks was leading the score for the Knicks in Game 7 against Indiana that they lost. Imagine that. 27 points. That's why he's unemployed.
Word.
So on that note, as we end season 7 of True Players Podcast with this beautiful episode with my hermano Matthew, you know, it's been good. We wish we could talk more. Now we can focus on the Mets now. Now that losing 9 and 10. Just beware of the next podcast, ladies and gentlemen. That'll be the first episode of season 8. So when I talk about that, what's going on, how the Kodai injury kind of like started this free for all of they're going through right now. But don't panic, Mets fans. Just a swoon. This is a swoon. They'll snap out of it. Trust me, they will.
That's a good.
Definitely. So it's been Big Don. We're going to sign off on this podcast. Happy birthday, True Players Podcast. June 27th, 2025 will be year number 8. I mean, I'm sorry. Year number 7 has completed. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. It's good times. Good times.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. So, who knows? I may even do a podcast on my birthday. Who knows, man? Which is a Sunday. So, we never know what may happen. But stay tuned. All right, people. Once again, Matthew, thanks for joining us. It's been always a pleasure, of course. Definitely. All right. Peace, everyone. Have a great night.